compliment. For that, I thank you.
What is happening now? They are hopeless and hungry.
Now it's time for us to stand up for God or we fall for nothing.
It's time now for Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Listening to the general public, what the public is saying.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Today. Catherine Tyson Sewell. I'm sitting in for Sterling this afternoon. We got lots to talk about, so you stay right where you are. We'll be back with more.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. Catherine Tyson Sewell. I'm sitting in for Sterling this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. Very happy to be here, and I hope that he's having a good break because Lord knows he deserves it. I mean, this is a chair. I tell you guys about this chair you're chained to until 2:30. It's true. Every time I step out to say I'm going to just grab a little water or a little bathroom break, they're like, "You're on." So it's quite cute. So Sterling, hats off to your brother. All right, Marcus Aurelius. The best revenge is not to be like that. I love it. I love that. I have been looking at these short rules for a good life, and that's one of them. I love that. So when you start thinking about revenge, here's the best revenge. Don't be like that. If someone's wronged you, don't be like that. You don't have to get back at them. Just don't be like that. Isn't that amazing? And then there was another statement that I learned years and years ago. Revenge is the best success. So anything that has to do with you improving, you being better, and not being filled with some anger or, being upset with someone, just don't do that. I love that. I wanted to share that with you all. Another thing I wanted to say quickly before I introduce my guests that are in the studio with me. There's a lady in Newlands, and I'm going to shout her out right now. I call her the lunch lady. Her number is 328-9862. Do me a favor, take down the number, 328-9862. She will send you her menu every day. She has saved my life for the last 6 months. The food is amazing. And I know, I'm telling you, I'm just telling you this. I'm probably going to get in trouble because I got DOE people in here. I don't know, maybe. But maybe not. That would be DEH. But it's amazing. And just if you're looking for Caymanian food, seriously, because a lot of the restaurants, there's not Caymanian, maybe not Caymanian people making it, and you can taste the difference. But when you taste that Caymanian plate, it's very different. So I just want to tell you guys about her. And so let me welcome my guests now because they're so over me. Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Hi, Catherine. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you. You're listening to the DOE Terrestrial Team, and that is the voice of John Bothwell. He's the secretary to the National Conservation Council.
Yes.
I got that right. I'm so excited.
Yes.
Yes. As well as you do a couple other things too.
I'm also the manager of our Legislation Implementation and Coordination Unit at the Department of Environment.
All right.
So my role is to help take the science and try to turn it into regulations that we can all use for better conservation.
Nice. Okay. And you have with you Simone Williams. She's the research officer over there at the Department of Environment Terrestrial Team.
Yes, so I look into all of the land animals and their plants and how they interact in the ecosystem. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, definitely. So I got to ask you first before I start talking about what you came to talk about. Do you notice the difference with a Caymanian plate of food versus other like nationalities that are very good also? But do you notice the difference?
I think the big difference is very much in the style of what's on the plate and stuff.
Yes.
And you know how we cook things all, and also the niches that we put our food into.
Yes.
You know, I love a stew, conch, fish, whatever, or rundown if people prefer. You know, salted whatever and run it and boil it down with coconut. Great.
Right.
But then we never did coconut in our curries. Because we had a niche for one thing and a niche for something else.
Right.
So like you said, the great thing is that ability to see what other people have cooked stuff around here and taste, check it out. But then to find that real flavor of what you remember.
Growing up.
And and to have that touchback to our former generations of what they cooked and why and how they did, why it ended up that way.
Right.
It is special, yes.
Exactly. And you know, it's that little difference, that little taste of my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what my grandmother's pots tasted like. And yeah, I just get excited because not everywhere you go you can get that, So speaking of that, there's a Guyanese lady in my office. She's my work best friend, right? Mm-hmm. And she was saying, "Man, there's some nice coconut curry chicken," and I was like, "Coconut curry chicken? Like, you would love it." I was like, "Well, you gotta let me taste it because I'm not used to coconut curry chicken."
Yeah, but again, I mean, if you think what our grandparents and people like that did with ground provisions and making heavy cakes,
right?
One basic thing that everything just worked in beautifully,
right?
And so that ability to take what we have and adapt it and keep it going is beautiful.
Absolutely.
And tasty.
Yes, knowing like you can get something out of the ground and make a nice sweet treat. Like
yes.
I was thinking of that, right? Awesome. And that's where our cassava cake and yam cake. My grandmother used to make all of those cakes. Pumpkin cake.
Green breadfruit, green papa,
yes.
ripe ones, everything.
Everything. Anyway, just I thought of that. I'm clearly hungry.
Yes.
And I won't be able to eat until 2:30. I think the listeners are like, she's always hungry. She was talking about food because it's 12:30 and it's hungry time. I know you guys are lunching right now. That's why you're in your car listening. So let's talk about what you came to talk about. We're talking about prohibited species. So just take it away.
Yeah. So this is a little bit the opposite of what we just started off talking about. What wasn't here when our grandparents were here, and what do we want to make sure doesn't come in? And we have experience in Cayman and the Cayman Islands in recent time of green iguanas, lionfish, other things that have come in and caused an environmental impact, often an economic impact as well. And if people want to think of prohibited species as the obvious ones that we really don't want to take the chance letting in here because their impact, whether we're worried about the environmental, but also often these things have an economic impact and a big social impact, is just going to be too big a risk to, for the benefit of a few people to have them as pets or whatever. You think snakes in the Everglades in Florida, obviously herpetology is a big thing around the world. Lots of people love their reptile pets. But just please, not in the Cayman Islands. We don't need that. It's going to cause a problem. And so what people like Simone have done is gone through both their local knowledge, but also talking to partners overseas and looked at what are these top species around the world that are causing problems or would be likely to cause problems here in Cayman. And we've put them in the regulations saying they are prohibited species. We can't bring them in. We just can't have them here.
Okay. So maybe we could talk about why also when we talk about the species, but why it would be a problem. Because sometimes people just need to know, like it's not obvious to them why that would be a problem. Oh, I said, come on, I like snakes. Like, what's wrong with that? I keep them in a cage and he's better than any dog. You know what I mean? Like people will actually tell you that. So explaining why is also good.
So like the species that we're looking at, we actually did a horizon scanning like conference where all of the islands got together, and Florida and other experts, and that was back in 2018 that we did that. So with all those expertise, we nailed down which species in particular would be a threat to the Cayman Islands, because these animals, once they establish, are difficult to get control of. They either can reproduce quickly, they have insatiable appetites and would eat up the limited vegetation that we have, as we've seen with the green iguanas. They also can bring in diseases or affect our crops. Like one, for example, is the agave snout weevil, that if this weevil gets onto the island, it will eat all of our agaves. And if you look at East End, there's tons of agave plants, and our landscape would change completely. It would not be what we would see, what we are used to seeing, and wouldn't be lush. So these animals are able to outcompete our native ones as well. And they, what we find is that there's no like protection or defense ability that the native animals have against them. So that's why we've put them on this list. And we are asking the public, because we know there are some people that do have these as pets, to please come forward and to speak with us, because we're not out to, I guess, be the bad guys. They didn't know that animal had that potential, but we do want to work with them to make sure that the animal is secure.
So you do know that some people have some of these animals as pets.
And they were common. That's why. Like back in the day, like you were allowed to have a monk parakeet, for example, or a Quaker conure. Those were things that would be common in a pet store. So you would just buy one. But now, because we've seen that, okay, monk parakeets, when they get up into the hydro line or the electric lines, they can eat away at the lines, and then we have no power. And COC is calling us like, okay, there's a bunch of Quakers in the in the power lines and in this transformer. What do we do? And I'm like, okay, we gotta, react.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, cute little bird, and then it's
it's very much that law of unintended consequences. And as someone was saying, we know that some people will have had them as pets, some of these things as pets previously. So that's why we are reaching out to people to find out, to please come talk to us, but also to try and let people know, don't ask, you can't bring this stuff in again now. And as you said, a lot of people want to know, well, why not? Or particularly, why not me? If I'm the only person with it, it can't be a problem.
Right.
Mine won't escape, don't worry. Unfortunately, we have to look at the bigger picture. As small as the Cayman Islands are, we've got to take that kind of top-down look, that we have to be fair to everybody, and stuff does escape. The best intentions of anyone is we have to almost expect it to escape and work on what's going to happen if it does get out.
Right.
And this isn't, we're going to focus mostly on animals because they're the obvious ones, but the prohibited species list includes plants as well. And as someone was saying about what makes these particular ones so worrisome is sometimes they can almost defend themselves too well. So some of the plants that are on there are basically poisonous. So when you have a problem now with, was it Brazilian pepper?
Brazilian pepper. So Brazilian pepper has really changed the landscape in the BRAC. We found some patches in Grand, and we had put out on social media to ask the public, if you see this plant, please contact us. Because Brazilian pepper is an irritant. If you touch it, it's sort of like maiden plum mixed with cow itch, and it's part of the poison ivy family.
Right.
So if you touch this plant, you will get rashes. You actually don't even need to touch it. I had a poor volunteer that was, she was interning with us, and I had to go treat some Brazilian pepper, and she was not even near the Brazilian pepper, but the pollen had wafted onto her skin, and it caused a huge rash on her chest.
Oh, wow.
And so this plant is not, it looks beautiful because it gets these nice red berries, but
and they're not edible.
They're not edible, but birds get attracted to them. And so that's why this plant is able to spread so easily, is that the birds think it's something that they can eat, and they'll pick the berry and fly off and then transplant it somewhere else.
Okay.
So it's very difficult to even just to cut down. Like people might say, "Oh, I'm going to cut it down," but it actually propagates out under the roots up as well. So we actually have a special herbicide that we treat it with. So that's pretty much like, if you see Brazilian pepper, please contact us as well.
Right. And if you don't know what it looks like, where can they go to for you'd have a photo of it? Because I probably would pass it and wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm. It's on our website. And and also on the conservation.ky website.
Yeah. So a lot of this stuff we talk about, www.doe.ky would be the first place for anybody who's looking for more information or background about anything DOE talks about. We put it on just go on there, www.doe.ky, use the search bar. It'll be much faster than trying to find it on there because, as you can imagine, we have a ton of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always say Google too. I probably could just Google Brazilian pepper as well, right?
Yes, for some of these common stuff that works beautifully as too.
Yeah, because I'd like to see what it looks like. I mean, some of these things I'd like to see what they look like just in the event that we see it, because maybe we'd like to, help the case, but we can't because we don't know what it looks like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am here this afternoon with Mr. John Bothwell. He's the secretary to the National Conservation Council and a lot of other things with the DOE, a terrestrial team as well. And I'm here with Miss Simone Williams, who's joined him, the research officer. And we're talking about prohibited species and things that you may not know, or you may actually know, and you're holding on for some reason. So we're talking about that. It's going to affect all of us. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more Talk Today right after this.
How can you make a classic BLT sandwich even better? Well, by adding tuna. The land meets the sea in Subway's new sandwich, the Tuna BLT, available for a limited time. The Tuna BLT is exploding with flavor. Imagine crispy, juicy bacon strips on top of tuna, fresh lettuce, and slices of tomato, topped with your favorite sauce and choice of freshly baked bread. Enjoy the best of both worlds with the Tuna BLT from Subway. Subway, eat fresh.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles until December 31st, 2023. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I go in flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
CU CUC Advisory. Customers are advised of a scheduled outage on Friday, November 10th between 9 a.m. and 12 noon for portions of Prospect Drive in Prospect, including Bonnie View Avenue, Rosemary Street, Bay Island Avenue, Loch Lomond Way, Ripon Drive, Oxford Close, Bayside Court, Roxborough Street, and Rock Crest Street. For more information, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. Catherine Tyson Sewell. I'm sitting in for Sterling this afternoon, and I am joined by the DOE Department, actually the Department of Environment, the DOE terrestrial team, and we're talking about prohibited species. I have Ms. Simone Williams, who's a research officer, as well as John Bothwell, who's the secretary to the National Conservation Council. And during the break, we're talking about all sorts of things that my head's literally spinning. And it's very interesting because I always think like scientific things are just like, you either understand it or you don't. I feel like there are a couple of different types of people in this world. I'm a social worker. I love people and love human stuff and, just analyzing behavior and figuring out why you do that and, what it's connected to and all that. And then I'll hear you science people talking. I'm just like, huh? What? How'd you know that? So that's really interesting because we were talking about the blue iguana and how their, what their function was, and I thought it was very interesting. So let's talk a little bit about these prohibited species. Can you give us an idea, or maybe it's just be a little specific? What are we talking about? I think you mentioned some parakeets or something.
Yeah, so we're on our list of prohibited species. We have 6 species of parakeet. We're not talking about your little budgies. We're actually talking about the bigger parakeets. So, and they have different names. So they would be like the Quaker parakeet, or monk parakeet, or Quaker conure is the other name that they have. A lot of the bird species that we're looking at also have the name conure, or sometimes they call them little parrots. So, for example, there's the rose ring parakeet, or Kramer parakeet, which is also known as the Indian ringneck parrot. There's also like the brown-throated parakeet, which is sold as the St. Thomas conure. It sounds prettier.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm actually looking at that there are some monk parakeets already living in the wild, and you're working to find a solution, but they reproduce at alarming rates and quickly establish large colonies in the wild. But the problem is that growth directly competes with local birds, particularly Cayman parrots.
Yes.
So I think that's really important, to put things in perspective, that, cute little birds, and what's the problem? Well, the problem is that they're now a threat to our local bird, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They will basically try to fill the same niche, take over, kick out the Cayman parrots, if you will, as far as feeding and stuff go. The other thing is they then become a problem for people. So in other parts of the world, some of these parakeets, when they've gotten loose, have become crop pests. The last thing I want to tell a farmer is we know how much you already hate our local parrots. Now we've got a few more little green birds coming to eat your crops.
Right. They're green also.
They're green also. They're a little bit smaller than a Cayman parrot, but pretty close in size. Oh, and by the way, these come in flocks.
Okay.
Yes.
Or they can. I mean, if anybody has happened to see one of the big stick nests from the Quaker parakeets, where they, what do you call it, Simone, when they nest in groups?
They pretty much make a big colony, and they will have like 100 individuals inside this colony, and they will fly as a flock.
Wow.
And they do things that they're a very social animal. So, but they can also be very destructive. And the other thing is that they're also aggressive. They will mob other birds.
Okay.
So
they go in packs too.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So it's like we're having a bit of a conflict with, we're going to have more conflict just with even the green, these green parakeets attacking our caiman parrots for nesting sites and for food resources.
Like a territory type of thing. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So during mango season, I saw quite a bit of our parrots, the caiman parrots, because they were by themselves. So I'm thinking, right? And they do look a little different than this parakeet you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I got one mango to myself. They had to bite every single one. I was like, y'all are so selfish. Just get the one, you know.
we know it hurts us all because again, the caiman parrots and mangoes, two different parts of the world. Our caiman parrots aren't really evolved to handle fruit as big as a mango.
Right.
You can imagine these little Quaker parakeets are smaller again. They're really just going to be destructive.
Right.
You know, our parrots are kind of evolved for things like birch trees. When they're heavily seeding, you know, parrots get all up in them, having a great time.
Right.
And then you can imagine a flock of 50 monk parakeets coming in, chasing off the parrots and saying that, we're going to eat this tree bare.
Right.
Yeah. Our
They can
natural
do a lot
systems
more
can
damage.
Exactly. Our natural systems can break very easily without us kind of realizing what's broken until it's happened. You were talking about the blue iguanas earlier. Obviously, green iguanas invasive species. We have a huge problem with them. Everybody's seen them. Everybody knows the government has had to spend lots of money on trying to control them.
Right.
But our blue iguanas, or rock iguanas in the Sister Islands, are the native species that are evolved to be here. And I know you and Simone were talking earlier some of the interesting stuff about what almost the use, if you'll excuse the phrase, of those iguanas are.
Right. Well, when you mentioned that they kind of, they're bigger and they lay around, like what's their function? I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And so Simone, you will now publicly share the information of what the blue iguanas. One of the functions.
So they're seed dispersers, like primarily, also just gleaners as well. They're caretakers of the environment. But because Cayman has such poor nutrient-rich soil, for seeds to germinate, they actually need a boost of nitrogen. And when the iguanas eat the fruit or eat the seeds, they passes through their digestive system. It gets rid of that layer that they need to germinate. And when they poop it out, it's in fertilizer. So there's that boost for everything to grow.
All right.
And that's pretty much what they have to do. And we need them to
so
do that.
So they eat all day, eat and pass it.
Exactly.
And that's what they're doing for us.
Yes. And that's the thing about nature and ecosystems. They're evolved to work together. And so once we get some of these invasive species in, it just throws the whole thing off and causes great problems, which is why we've got the new prohibited species list. And if anybody's looking to see the full list, DOE.gov.ky, DOE.ky or conservation.ky, just go on, do a search, prohibited species, and it'll come up.
Okay, for sure. Now, I also see on this list peacocks and pheasants.
Yes. So
say it ain't so.
If you think we have a chicken problem, then just imagine if we have lots of peacocks.
They're so pretty.
They are pretty, but they are very loud.
Right.
Have you ever heard a male peacock? It's louder than a chainsaw.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, it's funny enough you just mentioned chickens. Why are they not on the list?
So, good question. I'll take that one because it's one of the technical ones. A lot of this comes down to, is a species kind of a farm species or a common pet species, in which case, obviously, we're not going to try and regulate them through this method. So, dogs, cats, hamsters also are on this list of what's prohibited because they're pets. All your farm animals, goats are incredibly destructive in many other parts of the world. We would not want them getting loose here in the Cayman Islands and becoming a pest problem.
Right.
But they're not a prohibited species because we also like to eat curry goat.
Right.
Same thing with the chickens. They're a very useful farm animal and need to be regulated that way, not through an environmental regulation.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So now we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back to finish up the conversation. But it seems that if someone wants to register their exotic bird, they can actually do that, right? So you'll tell it, just tell them quickly before the break what they can do if they happen to have an exotic bird and they want to register it.
So please contact us. You can contact us by phoning 949-8469, or you can email doe@gov.ky. or check out the website and fill out the registration form at conservation.ky/prohibited-species.
And that doesn't mean that now I'm registering it and you're going to take it away.
So it's just that's an application, and then we have to go and inspect to see if the animal is held in a humane situation.
Okay.
And it's secure. And then we also don't want them breeding. So if you have all of the same sex, then that's great. If you have a male and a female, then we need to talk and put up something, either put them in separate cages or work with you. And we're really looking on a case-by-case basis.
All right, sounds good. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more talk today. Stay tuned.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
In this CI Retro's excerpt, during this remembrance period, the focus is on the dangers faced by the Caymanians in the UK Royal Navy Trinidad's operation during World War II, presented by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association in cooperation with Breeze Radio and Radio Cayman.
Mr. McCoy, were you exposed to any danger at all being based in Trinidad?
Well, while at sea, yes, because doing this anti-submarine work and doing escort or convoying duties, we were exposed. Outside of the harbor of Port of Spain, it was stated that more ships were sunk just out there than any other part of the Atlantic, because convoys were brought in and convoys taken out, and the submarines just laid around there to get those ships. I've seen a number of them torpedoed. We had to go out there. Our duty really was trying to sweep these there. When I say sweep, we were sweeping with anti-submarine sounding devices so as to warn ships and to try to help disable ships, you know. And I remember one ship which was being towed. We were escorting that ship when we received a signal from a destroyer, the old Churchill, saying clear the area of the target. And before we could even maneuver, that ship that was being towed was torpedoed. And the tug that was towing her almost went down. She went to where she was, I would say, probably about 35 degrees, you know, with a bow of water. And one of the men, Ed Tatum from Northside, he's now dead, poor fellow, he took a fire axe, and where that wire was running over a bollard, one chop, and he chopped that away. Otherwise, the ship would have carried that tug down.
The preceding was an excerpt from a Radio Cayman's CI Retro program, which focused on the dangers Caymanians faced during World War II, serving in many military operations. Speaking were Doran Miller, former Radio Cayman's Deputy Director, along with Mr. Harry McCoy, former Royal Navy Petty Officer, and former member of the Cayman Islands Veterans Association. Remember, some gave some, and some gave all their lives. Get your poppy and remember. The preceding was brought to you by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Breeze Radio, and Radio Cayman.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard the news? Digicel is back with exciting offers that are too good to resist. Activate one of our brand new prepaid or postpaid plans today and experience telecommunications like never before. With more data, dedicated entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, and endless social text data for all your favorite platforms. Digicel is here to make sure you stay connected and entertained. Whether you are on a prepaid or postpaid, you will also enjoy dedicated roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. It's all about value, and Digicel has got you covered.
Cayman Islands, clear your calendars because something extraordinary is coming your way. Ignite the Fire, hosted by Christ for All Nations, is roaring into the Lions Center from November 29th to December 3rd. Join us for an epic worship and gospel event, a monumental move of God that will transform lives and reveal destinies. Don't miss this 5-night, once-in-a-generation experience. Be a part of history in the making. Ignite the Fire, Cayman. Mark your date. November 29th to December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. nightly, and get ready for an unforgettable spiritual journey that will set your heart ablaze. Cayman and you will never be the same again.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. Catherine Tyson Sewell. I'm sitting in for Sterling this afternoon, and I'm here with Mr. Lynn. That's who's helping with the car today. Driving a car. You guys are fixing the stuff under the hood. You were saying something. I don't know what you were saying. So if it was important, you got to send a message. It is something else. When we're in here, we have to work along with the control room. It's very, very helpful. Thankful for that. So you all don't see them, but I'm just shouting them out. All right. So I'm still here with my DOE people, the terrestrial team, talking about prohibited species. I have Ms. Simone Williams, who's the research officer, as well as Mr. John Bothwell, who's the secretary to the National Conservation Council. And we were just talking about prohibited species, but being specific about some of them, right? And people can actually register their exotic bird if they have one, and then you guys are going to come out and help them make some decisions.
Yes. So there's a lot of species that are on the list, and but there's a lot of common names for a lot of them. So I encourage people to really contact us so we can help decipher if your bird or pet is actually on the list, because it's going by species name, not by the common names. Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there are some other things. And then there are some that are exemptions to the rule as well.
Yeah, so the common pets, gerbils and stuff, don't need to get registered, those kind of common pets. And obviously farm animals, that's Department of Agriculture. The good old civil service handoff, that's Department of Agriculture gets to handle the goats and the chickens, not us. We're looking for the more, someone said, exotic pets. People just think invasive species. What might cause a problem? What have we heard about causing a problem in other places? Those are the kind of animals and plants that we have on this list that we just don't want to see coming into the Cayman Islands because our environment can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we also spoke about, before the break, about the peacocks, and that includes other peafowls such as guinea fowls, quails, fancy chickens, partridges, turkeys, Muscovy ducks, and some fancy pigeons as well. And birds that are in the like finch family, some of those like exotic finches, known as like the nutmeg or spiced finch, or mannequins or minias or munias.
Yeah.
And starlings and minor birds.
Yeah.
So
and so I'm thinking about, all the ones that you're talking about, and I'm thinking, the natural mind, right, will just say, well, why? But I think it's because Cayman is so small and we cannot handle it. So that kind of ties into your closing thoughts a little bit as well.
Yeah. So the Cayman Islands have a beautiful environment that we're trying to keep beautiful for everybody, animals, plants, and people. But the problem is it means that it's a lot of other species that shouldn't be here naturally can survive here. We're not a desert where it's tough for things to get in here and make it. We're very easy. Again, I keep going back to South Florida because most of us know South Florida a little bit. And the things that can get in there and get wild, snakes in the Everglades, etc., you could get that same thing happening here with a lot of these prohibited species. And so to avoid that, to keep it very simple and fair for everybody, we have this list of what cannot come in anymore, what we cannot have anymore. It's on www.doe.ky or www.conservation.ky. Just go in there and do a search for prohibited species, and you'll get the information that you need to help you know, should I call DOE or not? If you look at it and you're still not sure, like Simone said, please call us, 949-8469, or email doe@gov.ky, and we'll pass it on to someone like Simone to help you figure out what you have, how, can you have it safely and legally, or is it something else need to be arranged for that?
Right. And more importantly, too, it's really protecting our native species as well.
Yeah, that's our perspective. That's what it's all about for us, protecting the Cayman that we all know and love.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. Your work is exciting. And everybody should check out the website to see, what it is, what these things are, what they look like. If they ever have any questions, they can always reach out to you guys and get the information.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
We're happy to talk about anything. And Cass, before we go, very quickly, congratulations to you on your second book. I saw that in the news, so
thank you.
You're doing much better than the rest of us, so good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. 3:00 in the morning, boy. I have nothing else to do but just write stuff. Appreciate it. And I hope to see you guys at the book signing. Say hello to Miss Suzanne for me. Sure. And thank you all to my guests, Miss Simone Williams and John Bothwell. They're both from the DOE terrestrial team talking about prohibited species. Do your part and reach out to them if you have any questions, or go check out the website just to ensure that you're on top of things. Really appreciate that. We'll take a quick break for the news, but we'll be back with more Talk Today.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. The Cayman Islands Government Protocol Office invites members of the public to attend the annual Remembrance Day ceremony to be held at the Cenotaph Elmsley Memorial United Church in Georgetown on Sunday, November 12th, starting promptly at 10:45 a.m. In international news, a man has been crushed to death by a robot in South Korea after it failed to differentiate him from the boxes of food it was handling, reports say. The incident occurred when the man, a robotics company employee in his 40s, was inspecting the robot. The robotic arm, confusing the man for a box of vegetables, grabbed him and pushed his body against the conveyor belt, crushing his face and chest. He was sent to hospital but later died. One of the most highly anticipated games of a generation is getting closer to being released. Rockstar Games has confirmed that the trailer for GTA 6 will be revealed in December, although there's still no release date for the game itself. It has been 10 years since Rockstar Games released Grand Theft Auto 5. The fifth installment in the franchise is the second best-selling video game of all time, behind Minecraft, with more than 185 million copies sold. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
It's one of the best moments of your life when you welcome your baby into the world. The HSA's experienced women's health and maternity team provides the highest quality of care throughout your pregnancy and delivery. As a JCI accredited hospital, we are the leader in maternal care, safely delivering over 700 babies annually. Visit hsa.ky for more information. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands. Captain Keith Parker Tibbetts, MBE, JP. Following the 1932 hurricane, like most young men growing up in Cayman in that era, the call of the sea was heard more strongly than any other. Keith Tibbetts Sr. of Cayman Brac was no different. After assisting with the rebuilding of the family home, resurrecting the family car, and helping other relatives and the community rebuild, he built and sold several catboats before going to Jamaica to seek employment as a seaman, and his long distinguished career got started on September 25, 1935, when he stepped on board the schooner Admiral Sturdy, which his father built and was later sold to the Colonel family. A year later, he joined the Canadian banana boat Lady Somers in Canada. During his seagoing year, he visited several ports in England and made 11 trips around the continent of Africa, including a distinguished military career. This was part 3 of a special Sister Islands vignette series dedicated to Captain Keith Parker Tibbetts.
I'll be back. I've got 22 more days.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer. You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I go in flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
In this CI Retro's excerpt, during this remembrance period, the focus is on the dangers faced by the Caymanians in the UK Royal Navy Trinidad's operation during World War II, presented by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association in cooperation with Breeze Radio and Radio Cayman.
Mr. McCoy, were you exposed to any danger at all being based in Trinidad?
Well, while at sea, yes, because doing this anti-submarine work and doing escort or convoying duties, we were exposed. Outside of the harbor of Port of Spain, it was stated that more ships were sunk just out there than any other part of the Atlantic, because convoys were brought in and convoys taken out, and the submarines just laid around there to get those ships. I've seen a number of them torpedoed. We had to go there. Our duty really was trying to sweep these areas. When I say sweep, we were sweeping with anti-submarine sounding devices so as to warn ships and to try to help disable ships, you know. And I remember one ship which was being towed. We were escorting that ship when we received a signal from a destroyer, the old Churchill, saying clear the area of the target. And before we could even maneuver, that ship that was being towed was torpedoed, and the tug that was towing her almost went down. She went to where she was, I would say, probably about 35 degrees, you know, with bow of the water. And one of the men, Ed Tatum from Northside, he's down dead, poor fellow, he took a fire axe, and where that wire was running over a bollard, one chop, and he chopped that away. Otherwise, the ship would have carried that tug down.
The preceding was an excerpt from a Radio Cayman's CI Retro program, which focused on the dangers Caymanians faced during World War II, serving in many military operations. Speaking were Doran Miller, former Radio Cayman's Deputy Director, along with Mr. Harry McCoy, former Royal Navy Petty Officer, and former member of the Cayman Islands Veterans Association. Remember, some gave some, and some gave all their lives. Get your puppy and remember. The preceding was brought to you by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Breeze Radio, and Radio Cayman.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us on Talk Today. This is Catherine Tyson Sewell. I'm sitting in for Sterling this afternoon and want to remind you of my book signing. It will be on Friday, November the 10th at 6:30 p.m. Next chapter, Camana Bay, and it's for my book, Single Mama, Powerful, Not Pitiful. I would love to see you there. So if you could join me, that would be awesome. Friday, November 10th at 6:30 p.m. Next chapter, Camana Bay, and it's the launch of Single Mama, Powerful, Not Pitiful. And you know what? Then you can go enjoy Pirates Week stuff after. Have dinner with, go enjoy your family and friends at Camana Bay, and then go do Pirates Week stuff. That'd be awesome. I do have some other stuff now in the studio. Let's see. Okay. Focus on Remembrance Day and the Cayman Islands soldier or sailor contributions over the past some 150 years to the defense and preservation of freedom and democracy. I have Loxley Banks in the studio, and I'll just hand it over to you, Mr. Loxley.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Catherine, well, as the old folks used to say, we're pushing the wheelbarrow up the hill.
Well, that can be heavy.
Yeah, at times it can, very, very much so. Well, you did done the welcome, so we just want to familiarize the listening audience with Remembrance Day is coming up, and there were, of course, many Caymanians who served during both world wars and even other conflicts. There are reports that there was a Caymanian serving in the Spanish-American War in the latter part of the 18th century. That we haven't been able to really pin that down exactly, but there are reports of that.
Right.
But over the years, they've been in all kind of scrummages. You take it from, we'd say, the 18th century all up through to present day. We don't know for sure, but we feel there are Caymanians on the line defending freedom and democracy somewhere today, right in this moment.
Right.
And we can try to give the audience a bird's eye view of 150 years.
Right.
So, first of all, we'll be connecting up in just a little bit with Mr. Henry Bawden. And he's Lieutenant Colonel Henry Bawden, retired from the U.S. Marines, 30 years, I think, 32 years. And also, a little later in the program, we'll connect up with Shadden McLaughlin, a former U.S. Marine, and she'll be joining us by phone. And in the studio with us, we have Mr. Rudy. And Rudy, I'll let you pronounce that last name.
Good afternoon first. My last name is Kudrycki, Rudy Kudrycki, they call me. It's difficult to pronounce, but to explain a little bit, my grandparents came from Lithuania, Estland, Lettland, all these NATO countries in the northeast. So they immigrated to Germany and mainly to Berlin. That's where I was born and grew up.
Yeah,
okay.
Germany, right?
Germany.
That's what I thought the accent was.
At that time, it was West West Germany. Now it's all Germany since, 20 years again. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a member of the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, and I think he spent 20 years in the German Air Force, right?
Yes, exactly. Probably a bit more. We had a special program for fighter pilots or jet pilots who had to retire around 40 because of health issues. Yeah.
I think somewhere along the line, early, he and I, or his path and my path, passed somewhere in the Arizona desert.
I remember that I was on a T-38. I was trained in the United States Air Force in Sheppard Air Force Base in Texas, and our first night cross-country flight or solo cross-country flight was to Nebraska, Little Rock. Is that correct?
Nebraska?
Little Rock Air Force Base.
Little Rock, Arkansas.
That's Arkansas.
Arkansas, sorry.
Little
Arkansas,
Rock, yeah.
I think that's where we are stationed at that time.
Yeah. So anyway, Rudy's going to be with us for the whole program, but right now we have got Henry Bawden on the telephone, and he's up there in, I think it's Virginia, U.S., and he served for about 32 years in the U.S. Marines, and he matriculated up through the ranks, which is about an 18-step progress to Lieutenant Colonel. And we believe that Lieutenant Colonel Henry, is probably the highest ranking Caymanian military officer. So,
Okay.
Henry, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hey, well, welcome to CI Retro Talk today, and glad to have you on. You can tell us in just a little 90-second snoop about your career. I know you grew up right where the fish shack was at. That's where you spent, I guess, the first, 15, 20 years or 18 years of your life?
Yeah, I started out living right up the road from Mr. Arthur's shop in Georgetown with my grandparents, Benny and Verna Bawden, and then we moved to Snug Harbor down, south down in West Bay, towards West Bay. When I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and lived there until I was 18. I went off to college for a year, and then I decided I wanted to pursue something I'd always been interested in, was join the Marine Corps, and I thought I'd do 4 years and at least check that box and say I'm done. I ended up re-enlisting as an enlisted Marine for it did 11 years on that side. I transitioned to warrant officer at 11 years. I did 5 years as a warrant officer, and then transitioned, as you kind of alluded to the regular officer side, and went up to lieutenant colonel after 30 years. I kind of look back and wonder, what happened to the plan of doing 4 years and getting out after spending another 26.
Well,
so, that's pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, I guess when you were thinking of those 4 years, you were probably thinking about coming back to Cayman and diving on the Cali wreck, huh?
Pretty much, yeah. I thought that was the I'd gotten the experience. I'd been able to break the link from high school to get some experience doing something different, and then I would settle down and probably find a job on the island doing something useful. Instead, the Marine Corps got into my blood, I guess, and I couldn't shake it. So I just continued to serve. And I tell people all the time that you do something that you love. It's not like a job, right? So it's really hard to break contact with something when you're so used to it, and that's the lifestyle you've been doing since you were 18 years old. Probably what ended up happening with me.
Yeah, well, I know you also spent quite a bit of time, I think, right up there in the middle of all of the plans and action in the Pentagon.
Yeah, I did 4 years in the Pentagon from 2016 till I retired in 2020, and kind of got to see the inner workings. Like I always tell people, the business side of the Marine Corps, where all the things that have to happen to make the folks out front successful that are doing the lion's share of the dangerous work.
Well, what are you involved with now? No secrets, but briefly.
I'm a defense contractor working in Quantico, Virginia for the Marine Corps Systems Command. We basically do the research and development arm of the Marine Corps. We try to find new things, better things, and test them, and then deliver them to the Marines in the field so that they can maybe get a lighter load to carry, or a better, more capable comfortable around to fire from their weapons, things like that.
Oh, well, sounds interesting. Nice transition from the military discipline of it into that kind of environment.
Yeah, I think it's the key part for me was I'm still around Marines, supporting Marines, so that's what was intriguing for this job for me, to continue to serve in a different role, I guess.
Yeah, well, over the years there have been several Caymanians that sort of went that route from the Navy into the Boeing company with some of their maritime programs, and from electronics in the Air Force to what was the big electronic company in Texas Instruments, and so it's. I know you guys, when you get out of the service, they're all chasing you. Those contractors, especially the defense contractors that manufacture all of these various systems.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the fact that I think I got very lucky at the onset. I signed up initially, that first 4-year contract when I signed up with the recruiter was to be an infantry Marine, just carrying a rifle. And they I think Triple C High School had a lot to do with it, but they got me on my scores. They said, well, you got an opportunity to maybe look at electronics maintenance, like you just alluded to, and working on radars and other command and control systems. And that kind of was was exactly what you just stated. It set you up for someone being interested in your experience and knowledge later on down the road, even after you get out.
Well, it sounds like you've had an interesting journey from the diving for conchs or seeing what kind of fish are on the Cali wreck up to the Pentagon and still going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very fortunate to say that, I have my roots back there on a small island of the Caribbean that some people don't even understand where it's at. They just show on a map.
Yeah, I know.
Started out there, had that experience, and then been able to transition that into a 30-year career in the Marine Corps.
Yep. Well, I suppose maybe your mom may be listening. I sort of told her that I was going to try to talk you into coming on with us for a little bit and just tell us a little bit about what you've been doing over the last 35, 40 years. And we want to thank you for taking time out. I suppose you're probably on some mission right now.
Yeah, we just came back from down at one of the bases here in Virginia where we have a missile launching system that we were providing some input to a guy who's looking at the power draw to make sure that our generators and stuff like that are adequate. So, yeah, absolutely appreciate the opportunity, and definitely wanted to say to the folks that are veterans of the Cayman Islands that we're grateful for your service just as much as fellow veterans. Certainly understand that you don't get acknowledged probably enough, and you should be recognized more often. And I appreciate you too for highlighting that for folks down there in the islands.
All right, Henry. Well, we'll let you go. You might have another missile to see whether it's balanced out at the foot. So.
And I want to say we're very proud that we have a Baudin in Virginia representing Cayman. So thank you for that, Henry, for your service.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me the time on your show.
Well, when you come down here, connect up with us, huh? Or give us some advance notice, and maybe we'll see if there's anything left of the Cali record there.
Turned over.
Absolutely, we'll do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Henry. And Catherine, I suppose it may be commercial time. I don't know.
We're going to take a quick break. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more talk today. You're listening to Catherine Tyson Sewell. I am actually here with Mr. Loxley Banks, and we're talking. It's retro talk today. I may slip out on you. You might blink. I'm gonna be gone. But this is amazing. We're talking to our veterans. So, and in the studio we actually have Mr. Rudy Kudrycki.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Almost, right? Okay, we're going to come right back with Talk Today. Stay tuned.
It's game time, Subway fans. We're upping our sub game with the all-new Subway Series menu, an all-star lineup of 6 delicious recipes. Just order by name or number and we'll do the rest. Whether you're catching a quick lunch or just need a tasty victory, the Subway Series menu is coming in clutch. Subway Series, easy to order, hard to resist. Try it today, only at Subway. Eat fresh.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles until December 31st, 2023. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. Catherine Tyson-Solem sitting in for Sterling this afternoon. A special edition of Talk Today is actually, I have a host, or he thinks he's a co-host, but he's the host, Mr. Loxley Banks, and he's actually facilitating the conversations with our veterans in remembrance of our veterans and the holiday coming up on Monday.
Day, yeah.
Remembrance Day. Everybody's walking around with the poppies.
But remember, you're the host.
Yeah, but you're helping. But everybody that, we're buying the poppies and we're walking around with them. That's one of the reasons. Like, a lot of people forget, like, exactly what it is. I know a lot of people will tell you it's holiday Monday. They have no idea what the holiday is.
I know. And this is what this is all about, trying to assimilate or educate the public about.
And acknowledge the people.
Especially the Caymanian experience in all of this.
The people that have done their part. They've gone out and put their lives, on the line or just to really help fight for our freedom
and democracy. And,
yes.
And I think too many people take it for granted that, it's just here. But they don't realize the sacrifice that went in to preserve. So, I mean, you just look at hear what's happening around the world today, and you think if the outcome had been different in 1945,
right,
Rudy might not have been here.
Right. Right.
I was born December 1944, so actually it was the first war I participated in.
December what?
1944.
No, what's the day?
29.
Oh, I'm in December too.
Okay,
but not 1944.
No.
Okay, well, we're gonna
a little bit after that.
We're gonna move on. We've got several actualities, we call them in the broadcasting business, of people telling their own story, and these are Caymanians telling their own stories about their experience within the space of defending freedom and democracy, war and battle. And that first one, and I think DJ over there in the other studio has got that one queued up to go. So, DJ, can we have it?
The following presentation is from a Radio Cayman CI Retro Wattle Vault program, brought to you by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Breeze, and Radio Cayman, featuring Cayman Islands veterans Bob Sodal, Loxley Banks, and Captain Dale Banks.
And I loved weapons and still do.
Well, certainly the military does bring you into between the lines and point you in the right direction, most of us.
But you're an army man too, but you haven't told us anything about yourself. I want to hear about you.
Well, U.S. Air Force, 4 years.
You were in the Air Force too?
Air Force, 4 years,
right.
56 to 60, and Operation Hardtack, which was a nuclear research project conducted in the mid-Pacific on a little island rock, 6,000 feet long and 2,500 feet wide, known as Johnston Island Air Force Base, to test the results of a ultra-high level of fission released in the atmosphere through the detonation of a megaton atomic bomb some miles up in the atmosphere. And quite a number of other little scrummages, but that was during the Cold War, and it was as difficult to keep the peace as it is to win the war. Yeah. And the Cold War was fought actually between the ears in the mind, because the only thing that kept everybody at bay was that Russia knew that if they started anything, the U.S. could wipe them off the map in 2.5 hours, and the U.S. had the same knowledge, so everything was kind of equalized. Freedom isn't free.
It isn't free. Somebody has to make the sacrifice.
I think strength is the only thing that is going to protect us. It was only when President Reagan decided that the U.S. was going to become strong enough that they can whip anybody in the world, or the whole world together if need be. Well, that the Soviet Union started to collapse.
So, in this period of high levels of concern about the nuclear threat, and we're in the remembrance period of Caymanians and others who, over the years, have stood in defense and preservation of freedom and democracy. Get your puppy, wear it proudly, in honor of our Cayman Islands veterans. Another break.
They say variety is the spice of life, and that's why at Subway, we're introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
You don't sound too good there, Bobo.
Yeah, you know how it is. With the kids back in school, every other week they coming out with something, and then I catch it.
Sound like it catch you. But for real, brother, flu season is here and COVID is still around. You gotta stock up on things like medicine, vitamins, and minerals for you and the kids. You know what they say, prevention is better than cure.
At ValueMed, our pharmacists can help manage flu symptoms and provide guidance on vitamins and minerals to best support you and your family's overall health. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown, or WhatsApp your questions and prescription refills to ValueMed on Walkers Road at 926-1662, or WhatsApp ValueMed in Boddentown at 916-5511. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you're going to invest in an exotic pet, choose anything but a Norwegian forest cat. Apparently, they will eat all your jewelry. Before you know it, you're racing to the vet when your cat escapes from his carrier and lunges for your earrings. You crash and your cat swallows your pearls. But if you're smart, you'll have CG Motor Insurance and get the best comprehensive coverage for the price.
Get the best comprehensive coverage for the price. CG Britke. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
During or after a storm, do not take unnecessary risks like going back into a dangerous area to salvage material possessions or refusing to evacuate. Remember, things can be replaced. People cannot. Visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky for more hurricane survival tips.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. Catherine Tyson Sewell. I'm sitting in for Sterling this afternoon. And I know Mr. Loxley Banks, who is here with the CI Retro, and we're talking about the veterans. We're talking to the veterans, crediting them for Veterans Day that's coming up on Holiday Monday. I know he just wants me in the studio because I'm really not doing much. This is your show. I'm throwing it to you. You go ahead. You just want me sitting in here with you.
All right. Well, we'll move on. We'll move on to that next actuality, and this one will give you some idea of the Royal Trinidadian Navy guys. And there was about 250 Caymanians that served in the Royal Trinidadian Navy during World War II. So this next cut, which is 16-0-1611, will give us just a brief on that. And Mr. Harry McCoy is actually doing the speaking, along with, I believe, Dorian Miller was also on this short narrative.
And now, from the CI Retro's Wattle Vault, in this period of remembering the sacrifices, dedication, and bravery of our Caymanians who served over the many years under British and United States of America military commands in defense and preservation of freedom and democracy, the Cayman Islands Veterans Association presents this reminder to us all of the sacrifices that was rendered to preserve the freedoms we enjoy today. Some made the supreme sacrifice, gave their lives. I understand that a plaque is now in place down at the Elmsley Memorial Churchyard in honor of all of those men who served in the Trinidad Royal Navy. Cap, tell us a bit about that.
Actually, the plaque, it was designed to honor the 201 Caymanians that joined the Royal Navy and went to Trinidad and were trained to serve the first batch that left early in 1941. These guys, I don't think ever got full credit for the important work that they did. And there's a story that one of them had kind of reluctantly told me because he didn't want to feel like he was bragging, but he told me about an instance where they had 5 fast patrol boats. They needed more, but that was all they had, so these were very important. These were submarine chasers and so forth. And one had been towed to Barbados to have some work done on the hull and was being towed back to Trinidad to have its engine fixed and put back in service. And then a storm came up, bad storm. The boat broke away from the tug that was towing it, and it was just too rough to try to get another line on it. So the tug came in, and the commander asked for volunteers to go in a larger ship to try to find this. I'll make it as short as possible. They found it, and twice they couldn't get close enough to the boat to put a line on it because the sea was so rough. So they asked for 2 volunteers to swim to it in the middle of this storm. And one, West Bear, and one from Cayman Brac volunteered, and they did this twice because the first rope they put on parted. In the end, they saved the boat, and they were cited. They were called in and cited by the senior British naval officer in Trinidad for their bravery, and he heaped a lot of praise on them. And the gentleman was telling me, they said that as they left the commander's office, the Bracker said to him, "That was all well and good, but the least he could have done was give us a bottle of rum." That's kind of typical Caymanian bravado, I suppose.
But just to think of it, they couldn't get close enough to the boat to put a line on board to take it back in tow. So you can just imagine what kind of weather that was, probably 12, 15, 20-foot waves.
Exactly.
And they jumped off of the tugboat to swim.
They hauled a small rope, and then when they got on, they were able to haul the tow rope across after that. The second time they did it, the towboat actually put a raft and played a raft out until the raft came close enough to the patrol boat that they could get on that. But as they pulled it back, just as they got by the ship, he said the ship pitched down so high that the stern came up and jerked the raft underneath. And he said they could look up and see this spinning propeller right over their head. They both jumped into the water, and the stern came down and smashed the raft up. But fortunately, they were able to get around and get back on.
Well, that's just a typical story of what some of our men serving in the military and even in the merchant marine had to put up with, and their bravery and what they did in defense of freedom and democracy.
The two Caymanians that were instrumental in saving this patrol boat, the Grand Caymanian was a gentleman by the name of Carly Ebanks. The Cayman Bracker, Mr. Carly, couldn't be sure about his name, but he thought that his last name was Robinson. But in any event, it was two very brave Caymanians.
The preceding is an excerpt from a CI Retro's program on Caymanians' military involvement in defense of freedom and democracy, which featured former United States Air Force Airmen Captain Dale Banks and Loxley Banks and present members of the Cayman Islands Veterans Association. This special presentation was brought to you by Radio Cayman, Breeze Radio, and the Cayman Islands Veterans Association. The Poppy Appeal is ongoing, so get your poppy and wear it proudly.
And there you have it. So lots of great stories, you know. It is just, for me, it's like a testament of how much, you know, we really care about our community, right? And we need to continue that, because some of these stories that we listen to, these are from people that have done their part.
Gone on.
Right. But we need to still be doing our part. So I think for the young people that are listening, you know, you got a lot to live up to.
And sometimes I wonder whether that same mind frame exists in today's society. You know?
I'm not sure.
I thought you'd know.
I'm not sure. By what I'm seeing, you know, but I'm still hopeful.
Yes.
I'm still hopeful. We're talking to Mr. Loxley Banks, and we're just facilitating these conversations, really.
Of course, hearing stories like this could be inspirational to some of them.
Absolutely.
Many of them. And Rudy, you listening to that, jumping off of a ship, a tugboat was actually where they jumped off for the first time, in 15 to 20 foot waves and swimming. Can you imagine that?
I can imagine how that is, but I don't want to do it myself. But in military, you do your things. You know, you don't think about yourself. You have to fulfill your tasks, etc. And that's what we all did. Also in flying, I will talk probably later about what I did in the German Air Force. But like again, I said, you don't think about what you have to do.
Yeah. Well, flying the F-104, did you run into any really, really bad turbulence up there at 35,000 feet, 40,000 feet?
No, in turbulence 50 feet off the ground.
The afterburner.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't use the afterburner. I used just military. That was a better acceleration at that situation I got into. But like Loxley just said, afterburner was the one which saved your life also.
Yeah. Now, I know, you know, F-104 was one of the backbones of the U.S. Air Force and the German Air Force and many air forces around the world for a long time. Now, as I remember, the wings on that was about 4 foot?
21, actually from wingtip to wingtip, 21 foot, but the airplane was weighing up to 25,000 pounds, you know. So
yes.
We had in training in Arizona with temperature of 115, 120 degrees Fahrenheit. We had a 12,000 foot runway, and the takeoff run was 8,000 feet. Yeah.
Now,
with afterburner.
And when you landed, you had a parachute that helped slow you down most of the time.
You needed a drag chute in order to slow the airplane down. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. And we used compressed engine air to flow over the wings to make this airplane think it's flying faster. That alone was.
As I recall, the wings, the front end of the 4-6 foot wing on each side, that was so sharp that the moment that plane landed and came into the bay, you had to put protective
cover
over the wings, because if you slid up against it, you cut yourself.
We had a lot of pilots initially who had a cut we called a mark of sorrow at the head, because we had to check your landing gear before takeoff, and there was only one way
to go under the plane,
underneath the wing. So if that car was not on, especially on cross-country flights where there are no technicians, you had to hold it. You learned that. You had to hold the wing with the right hand and then guide yourself underneath. Otherwise, you had that cut. You know? And everybody was laughing.
No,
yeah.
No, they were.
It's one of those things.
They carried the Sidewinder a lot of the time.
Sidewinder, yeah. And the air-to-air version, you know. We had the German Air Force. I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but the German Air Force used the F-104 not for what it was designed. It used it for not only as an interceptor, used it for a heavy bomber, fighter bomber, the nuclear role. That was my first. And then as reconnaissance and as tactical fighter, and each version had to have special instrumentation in it, so the airplane was loaded and loaded and loaded, and that's why it ended up that it was in critical conditions and it just stalled and spinned. You know?
Yeah. And of course, it didn't have much of a payload to begin with, because it was basically a big engine with the pilot's module sitting on the front of the engine.
That's what people called it, the missile with a man in it.
Yes.
J-79 engine, one of the old straight engines with 22,000 pounds of thrust.
Pratt &
was
Whitney,
at that time. No, General Electric. General Electric. Yeah.
Well, sounds like so much information, and I don't know where you get this memory from. You remember it like it was yesterday.
Things like that you never forget in your life.
Really?
You dream about it. You know, that was only one. I flew in the end 36 different fighter jets, and my main job in the end of the German Air Force before I retired, to the age of 44, I did mainly testing airplanes so that they're ready to fly again. You know, so I had a lot of mishaps. Yeah.
Did you ever fly the 105?
No.
You never got around to the 105?
Not the 105, not the 105, but the Phantom.
Yeah.
Phantom and Alpha Jet, and then after my retirement from the German Air Force, I went 7 years flying for the United Arab Emirates Air Force and training young pilots here to participate in the first Gulf War, and that was the British Aerospace Hawk.
Well, wow. I mean, and I'm just listening, so I'm just imagining, you know, and to put it in some type of perspective, when people watch Top Gun,
you're a
fighter pilot,
but Top Gun is not reality.
So making it look so exciting, and it just looks like, but it's dangerous what you're talking about.
Basically, yes. Yeah.
So that's
flying is dangerous, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you probably heard about the first accident where this, I think it was in the First World War, in the U.S. Air Force or the British Air Force, where this guy hit the tree, and they said, "Who put the tree there?"
Right. Yes, it's true. Where did that tree come from?
Right, exactly.
Well, Kathy, I guess commercial time.
We're going to take a break. Mr. Loxley, you running this show, you know. I told you don't need me here. He's looking at the time like, we need a commercial. Come on. All right. It's in your blood. It is in your blood. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. And we're talking to our veterans. In the studio, we do have Mr. Loxley Banks, who doesn't want to talk about his experiences, but hello, he's a veteran. And he's joined by Rudy Kudrycki. Rudy Kudrycki from the German Air Force fighter pilot. He's a CI Veterans Association. You guys are having a great time this afternoon. We have some more for you, so just stay tuned. We'll be back with more.
Cayman Islands, clear your calendars because something extraordinary is coming your way. Ignite the Fire, hosted by Christ for All Nations, is roaring into the Lions Center from November 29th to December 3rd. Join us for an epic worship and gospel event, a monumental move of God that will transform lives and reveal destinies. Don't miss this 5-night, once-in-a-generation experience. Be a part of history in the making. Ignite the Fire, Cayman. Mark your date, November 29th to December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. nightly, and get ready for an unforgettable spiritual journey that will set your heart ablaze. Cayman and you will never be the same again.
Brand Source Home Gallery 54th birthday celebration with store-wide savings. Save on appliances, faucets, tubs, toilets, shower doors, vanities, kitchen cabinets, custom closets, and more. Starting Monday, November 6th, save 30%. Monday, November 13th, the savings will drop to 20%. And Monday, November 20th, they will drop to 10%. It pays to shop early and save more. Brand Source Home Gallery 54th birthday celebration savings on now through November 25th. Dorsey Drive Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. Catherine Tyson Sewell. I'm sitting in for Sterling this afternoon. Sterling, you're missing all the fun, I can tell you that, because I am having a great time with Mr. Loxley Banks, and I am also in the studio with Mr. Rudy Kudrutsky, who thinks I can't say his name, but I got it.
Just try saying it again and again, and then you will.
And again and again. All right, we have a caller on the line. So, but before we go to the callers, I wanted to read this little WhatsApp that I got. When we just said, do we still, does it still exist out there, for the younger people? So a younger person sent this. Good afternoon. Oh, it still exists. There's no understanding and support. That mindset is now frowned upon. That's how it feels as a young Caymanian.
Well, that's very revealing. Hopefully that...
it's very serious.
Yeah, that some folks that should be listening are listening to this type of program.
Yes, but I'd say keep doing it. Still do your part, regardless of who's frowning upon it. Because it's never been cool to be nice. Like sometimes they say the nice guys finish last, but it doesn't mean you should stop being nice. So we're going to go to the phones quickly, but thank you so much for that message that you sent through. Just keep doing it though. Just keep your head up and keep doing it.
Because it may be required close farther. It may be. Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Yeah, and it may be required of us down the line.
Okay.
If you look at what's going on in the world today.
Absolutely. So I think the caller is our next guest. So go ahead and introduce them for me, please.
Well, Shadden's been on the program here with us over the years, and she's a former U.S. Marine, and she will be telling us a little bit more about Remembrance Day and the Poppy Appeal, so forth. So Shadden, welcome. Good to have you on.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Shadden.
Hi there.
Thank you for having me. I hope everyone is doing well.
Doing great.
Rudy, I have to commend you. Good job.
Thank you. I'm trying my best, as you know. Yeah.
Doing great.
Shadden, I told him, I had a little discussion with him before we came in. I said, now, Rudy, you have to slow it down a little bit.
Yes.
But then
good job, Rudy.
But then he says I have to use the afterburner. What shall I do now?
It's all good. I won't take too much of your time, and my apologies that I'm not there in person, but I am sending my well wishes and an appreciation to everybody in Cayman, because each and every year we are not able to provide the support that is so very needed for our veterans and widows in need without the community support. So a huge thank you to everyone, first and foremost. And a big thank you to Radio Cayman for always giving us the support to keep reminding people the importance of our veterans and the sacrifices that they've made. So just a real quick, as we all know, we're all very excited. The first long weekend in a couple of months is approaching us this weekend. But we need to take a step back and take the time to remember why this long weekend exists. And it's because of the sacrifices that were made by so many. Freedom is not free. And because of those sacrifices, we now have our Remembrance Day. The holiday Monday is coming, and this Sunday we will take some time on November 12th in front of the cenotaph by Elmsley Memorial Church on Seafarers Way. At 10:45, the ceremonies will start. Well, we will take the time to remember. So we're asking for those that would like to join us. It's a sight to see. We have collaborated with various contingents that include the Cayman Islands Regiment, the Cayman Islands Police, Fire Service. We have the Girls Brigade that comes out. So it is a beautiful sight to see with all those in uniform representing and those veterans as well that will be present. So come join us. You're due to be seated by 10:30 in the morning. And, again, thanks to the Cayman Islands government for ensuring that Remembrance Day is not forgotten. And on that note, we are out at the supermarket. As you know, we're in the poppy appeal season, and we are encouraging everyone not only just to get their poppies, but this Friday is now recognized, the Friday before Remembrance Day weekend is now recognized as National Dress Red Day in support of the poppy. So we're trying to get the word out and encourage everyone to dress red this Friday. And for those companies that would like to participate, feel free to contact us. We're happy to give you the account information. But for those of you that are listening and would like to make a donation to support the Veterans Association, you would make the donation to First Caribbean, to the Cayman Islands Veterans Association. And the account number is 135-4743. That's 135-4743. And you can make your online transfers. Those are appreciated, or you can reach out to us on our Facebook page or our website, and we'd be more than happy to provide you with additional information. Again, what we do at this time of year helps us take care of our veterans and widows in need for the year. We do not receive any additional assistance in terms of government funding and whatnot. So this is all based on what the community helps us raise during this period to help those in need. So very important that we all participate and we remember, yes, we know it's Pirates Week, but the key importance of this weekend is remembering those that made the ultimate sacrifice, remembering those that are currently fighting the fight overseas as we speak, so we can continue to enjoy the very freedoms that we enjoy daily. So thank you so much for having me on. And remember, this Sunday, take your seats at 10:30 by the cenotaph at the waterfront. Wear your poppies, and on Friday, dress red, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good, Shadden. Thank you. And as you said, down in front of the cenotaph and the Elmsley Memorial Churchyard on Sunday, that's where all the proceedings will be conducted on Sunday morning. So, thanks for joining us. And, we talk about the Remembrance Day and the poppies. I don't know, Catherine, when you went to school out here, was the Poppy Day popular?
It was. It was. I know I'm kind of old, but I can tell you, we were very excited about it. We used to sell them.
Yeah, well,
like the young children, like we were always involved with that. Mm-hmm. Like my grandmother would have us like going and selling them, getting donations. I think that's what it was. But it was very exciting because when you're young and somebody's giving you $1 for something, it's like, oh, I got $10, and we'd put it in a pan. It would be like in this little pan. It was a whole thing. I don't see it anymore. I see the poppies, but I don't see the excitement.
Hunt's ketchup or a Hunt's tomato. Big can.
Something, but it used to also have like a little green stem I don't know if anyone remembers. It had like a little button, a
Yes,
black
yes,
button
yes,
on
yeah,
it, and a
yeah.
green stamp. It was quite expensive, I think, and we'd have fun just pinning it on people. So we'd just get the donations and pin it. It was like something that we were all competing as kids to do. I don't know if we understood what it meant, but it really was around.
Well,
yeah.
We probably didn't, because I remember, and this was back in the late 40s, early 50s, 1940s, late 1940s, early 50s. We ran around all over West Bay, the school children, giving these to people and hoping that they would give us a donation.
So you said you did this in the 40s and 50s?
Oh, yes.
So how you ask me then if it was around? How old do you think I am? 100?
No, but
of course it was around in the 70s. Because I would.
1944.
I'm talking about the 70s. It would have been that we were selling them. Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to Truth for Youth School at the time, and it was a big thing. Big thing.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy to still see it.
But the difference then, I understand, all the monies that was collected in that era went back to UK. Now, all the monies that are collected in the Poppy Appeal stays right here in Cayman to support the needy veterans and their spouses.
That's good. Do you think we do enough?
Well,
once again, that question: do we do enough?
Yeah, I don't think we really can ever do enough, because the needs of some of the veterans, and there's quite a number of them in Cayman. Many of them have gone on, but there's quite a number of them that over the years, Cayman has had great participation in the defense of freedom and democracy. Like I mentioned before, we had about 250 young Caymanians in the Royal Trinidadian Navy.
Right.
And on the other side, in the U.S. side, there were probably, I'd say, another 150, 200 people in the Army.
Right.
In Army, Air Force, what used to be called the Army Air Force at that time, and the Navy. We had Caymanians who landed on D-Day on the beaches of southern France. The D-Day, that was the big thrust to rid the world of the tyranny.
Right.
Landed on the south coast of France, fought their way all across France for 11 months, and wound up on the bank.
Germany.
Yeah, and wound up on the banks of the River Rhine.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation. I see you looking at the clock, You are like a computer. When we come back, I'm going to ask you a question. I am. I know you don't want any questions. No, ask me. I want to talk to other people. No, we're going to talk to you when we come back, Mr. Loxley, because he's looking at the clock like it's time for news. It's time for a break. Oh my goodness, it's amazing just watching that brain work. I'm here with Loxley Banks. You guys know who that is, of course, and we're also joined by Rudy Kubritzka. I forgot now.
No, forgotten. Just call me Rudy.
Just Rudy. Okay. And we are talking all things veterans. We'll be back with more talk today. Right.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. DART announces plans to develop a new center of health and wellness in Camana Bay. Plans call for the new 3-story purpose-built structure to be just steps away from the new Health City Cayman Islands Medical Campus that's scheduled to be fully opened in Q3 2024. The center aims to provide a convenient environment for health and wellness clients and improve accessibility to healthcare services by bringing a variety of experts and practitioners together under one roof. In international news, it is now virtually certain that 2023, a year of deadly heat waves, floods, and fires, will be the warmest on record, new data suggests. The prediction follows exceptional high October temperatures. Global average air temperatures were 0.4 Celsius warmer than the previous high of October 2019, according to the EU's Climate Change Service. Driven by carbon emissions and an El Niño weather event, this was the 5th month in a row of record warmth. Extreme global temperatures will likely continue into 2024, researchers say. Ohio voted to enshrine abortion rights in its constitution on Tuesday, marking a major victory for pro-choice campaigners in the state. The BBC's U.S. partner CBS News projected a decisive victory for the amendment. Almost 57% of voters in the conservative-leaning state backed the measure. Its success is likely to bolster Democrats' hopes that abortion rights remain a winning issue ahead of elections in 2024. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. Catherine Tyson Sewell. I'm sitting in for Mr. Sterling this afternoon, and I'm actually here with Mr. Loxley Banks. We're talking to the veterans. We're talking about the veterans. We're talking about Remembrance Day coming up on Monday and really just honoring them. And we're also joined in the studio by Cayman Islands, a member of the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, used to be a German Air Force fighter pilot, Mr. Rudy Kudryski.
Now we get it.
Born December 29th, 1944. See the brain still working, Rudy.
Still working, yeah.
Now I got to ask you a question before we go on to what you're doing, Mr. Loxley. How long have you been at Radio Cayman?
Well,
did you take a break at some point, or you been here?
Well, I took.
consecutively?
Yeah, I actually, I guess sort of what you could call officially retired in 2006.
Okay, but before that, you were here for how long?
Well, I left Cayman 1954 when I was almost 16 years old, and I came back in 1975 after 25 years in the States.
Oh, wow.
And broadcasting, and all that kind of stuff. And but what was the question then?
So you were doing that in the States? You were broadcasting as well? No. So when you came back home at after 20-something years, you joined Radio Cayman at that time?
Yes, I did 1975, but, Radio Cayman got a long history.
Right.
A long history. Long before it was ever able to emit a signal, there was a lot of work being done.
Right.
I was also with Armed Forces Radio and Television Service in the Air Force. I had a stint with them.
Okay.
So
this was out of where?
Well, this was over in the Pacific region.
Okay.
And
top secret.
I was always, I guess, interested in broadcasting and radio. It kind of fascinated me from time I can remember. My mother used to be worried herself to death. I'm up on the housetop because this was back in the war years, trying to put up an antenna so we could hear the news and all this kind of stuff for the radio.
I like that story.
And anyway, my stint with Armed Forces Radio and Television Service solidified my idea of putting a radio station in Cayman.
Really?
Yeah. And I finished up my Air Force requirement in 1962, I think it was. And by 1964, I was out here advocating for a radio station.
Really?
Yeah. But they wouldn't give me the license.
Right.
And there's a whole political...
Right.
There's a whole political yaya with that involving...
But you started the conversation, which is great.
Basically, I think so.
So you're the grandfather of Radio Cayman.
Well, whatever. But it wasn't only myself, within the school that I went in West Bay, Town Hall School, there were about 3 or 4 of us who this radio thing was very fascinating.
Right.
Cecil Bush, who passed on some years ago, Owen Powery, he's gone on, and J.B. Groves, he's gone on. And these guys, back in those days, we couldn't listen. The only radio station that we could hear really good, and you had to get up in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, to listen to them.
Right.
Because of they were all AM stations, WCKY Cincinnati in Cincinnati, and there was one coming out of Charlotte, and of course some of the Miami stations, WQAM and WIOD, Wonderful Olive Dreams was their thing, and WGBS, and you might remember some of WGBS in the later latter years, and so that's a little bit of the.
That's interesting. Thank you for that, because I was going to tell you a fun fact. So I wanted to know exactly when you were here, and you said it was 1979 that you came back. So
75.
1975. So when I was graduating high school for the first time, because I actually went on to Triple C, so I graduated high school twice. Mm-hmm. When I was graduating from Cayman Islands High School, I actually interned here at Radio Cayman with you. But I was trying to remember, was it Mr. Loxley? But all these papers you gave me today reminded me of when I was here during that time, because you'd have stuff written down. Like, this has been a thing that you do, right? And it just came back to me. And that would have been like in 1983, 82. Yes. So, fun fact, I actually interned here. I wanted to do broadcasting in high school, and then life happened, and I ended up in different areas, but full circle, look where I ended up. I've been doing this now way over 10 years, from the time I'd published my first book, and Sterling and I got together, and he interviewed me, and then we were just guest hosting. But I've been sitting here with you for a long time.
But
I love that.
And just reflect that against you didn't want to sit in today.
I didn't. I was like, I gotta go. I got things to do. I'm not. You hosting. So yes, you were like, you need to be here. You're the host. Don't leave. And so I've been having a great time. Thank you for that. But I did want to ask you that question because I wanted to pay homage to you. I wanted to really say, I know you don't want people to talk about you and this and that, but no, I mean, you are one of our elders. You are one of the people that we have to be appreciative of, that you're still doing the same thing, but you've been doing this a long time. And so you're a foundation. And a foundation is very, very important, because if a house not got no foundation, it can fall down. Period. So we have to keep thinking about that. So I just feel very honored that you forced me to stay today.
Don't use the word forced.
To stay in the radio station on this mic. Okay? I'll throw it back to you now, Mr. Loxley. Take it away.
Well, we're going to move on to another actuality here, and I think DJ on the controls there has got it all queued up for us to go.
During this time of remembering the sacrifices and dedication of Caymanians and others who during democracy and freedom's greatest challenges gave their all, some made the supreme sacrifice, gave their lives, the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, in cooperation with Radio Cayman and Breeze Radio, presents a short narrative on the sacrifices and services rendered.
I was excited until I found myself surrounded by dead bodies. That kind of put a damper on things. But no doubt about it, war can keep the adrenaline flowing 24 hours a day. But Sheen and Andrew, I'm sure, can talk much better about that than I can. I had a good sense of joining the Air Force.
Shane, you want to pipe in here?
No, I concur with the captain. When I first joined the Army, I always wanted to be, from a young boy, I always wanted to be an Army Ranger. And I guess for my sins, that came true. And it's always exciting, and it's all like, romantic and stuff until you get shot over the first time, and then you realize that it's a serious game that we playing there. That humbles you after that. Once you get across that first time, you realize what it's all about.
Did you ride the range with your grandfather out here with me in the cow pastures?
As a little boy, I did. I did indeed.
Well, just give us another little glimpse of your service, because you were in Iraq twice or once?
I was in Iraq once, Afghanistan once, and several other countries. Basically, what I lucked out, really. When I joined the service, I got sent directly to Korea. Served the 2nd Infantry Division, and specifically in the 506 Airborne Infantry Regiment, and got a lot of experience on because that whole the army in Korea is on a war footing at all times. The Marines as well, because they're just got a ceasefire going on over there. From there, came back and went straight to the 101st, and the 101st is deployed all over the world all the time. So we got a lot of real world experience as young soldiers, which put us in a good spot when it came to the bigger, larger conflicts after 9/11. We had a lot of experience with dealing with conflicts and conflict zones and leading soldiers in conflicts.
Andrew?
Yeah, I can say that from my experience, there was a big sigh of relief when they found out we were going to war, because for the Marines, we train for war but pray for peace. But of course, when your back's up against the wall and you got to produce, every day we're training and getting ready for that conflict. So it's almost a sigh of relief when it's finally in front of you and you're going to get to use that equipment and the tactics and things that you've practiced on tables and boards and exercises. Now we're going to get to put it to some real use. But as I have to agree with my colleagues here that and my fellow soldiers in arms, that when people start dying around you and things start taking place, that's when the realities come.
The preceding was an excerpt from a CI Retro's Wattle Vault program on Caymanians military service. Heard were Captain Dale Banks of the United States Air Force, Sergeant Andrew McLaughlin of the United States Marines, and Sergeant Shane Bothwell of the U.S. Army. They spoke about their former experiences in the military. Presented by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Breeze Radio, and Radio Cayman.
Wow. That's, just listening to that whole conversation, these are fairly young men,
yes,
right?
Shane and Andrew still.
Yeah, I'm going to call them young men for sure, yeah? And just talking about that experience, or the reality of wanting to use this equipment that you're practicing on, but then the reality of it is this equipment could harm someone, because that's what war is about, isn't it?
May I add something? There was this old General Clausewitz. You probably heard about that. He's the one who said war is part of politics.
Right.
So that basically means military doesn't want a war. Okay, we want to use our equipment like he just said, but we are not eager to get into the war. The politicians up to date. If you look around the world, what happened at the moment is exactly the same thing. War is part of politics.
It's big business too.
Yeah.
And big business too.
It is a big business. Yeah. But it's also people just not being able to work out their stuff. So how they work it out is they go to war.
Yes.
And may the bigger and stronger one win, and then now it's settled.
But if you look back through society or history, humanity, that's the way when you go back to biblical times and you see,
times, yeah.
Right?
Exactly, yeah.
You see, and we don't seem to learn anything.
Has not changed.
Yeah.
Has not changed.
I'm looking at the clock there.
Do we have some more stuff though? I don't think we have a break just yet. Do we have a break? We got one more break. Yeah. You got a few more things too, Mr.
Yeah, well,
Locksley?
let's take the break now.
All right, let's take a quick break and then we come back and we don't break anymore. All right, we'll be back with more talk today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard the news? Digicel is back with exciting offers that are too good to resist. Activate one of our brand new prepaid or postpaid plans today and experience telecommunications like never before. With more data, dedicated entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, and endless social text data for all your favorite platforms. Digicel is here to make sure you stay connected and entertained entertain, whether you are on a prepaid or postpaid. You will also enjoy dedicated roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. It's all about value, and Digicel has got you covered.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
I love Pizza Boat. It's yummy. It has my two favorite things combined, cheese and boats. Pizza Boat makes pizza way more fun.
Hop on board the Pizza Boat Express. Kids, now Pizza Boat makes pizza even more fun. Lunch or dinner, let Pizza Boat bring the fun. Pizza Boat, a Cayman twist to pizza, bringing fusion ingredients from all over the globe to give you locally inspired fresh pizzas all day, every day. Pizza Boat, now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road. Pick up or delivery 949-0000 or order online www.pizzaboat.ky.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I am sitting in for Sterling Catherine Tyson Sewell, and I have just been given a tutorial on how to pin the poppy on my lapel. I didn't even know. Mr. Rudy showed me a little trick because they have the little ones with the green stem. So if anyone's interested, just ask for it because they do have them. Mr. Loxley, we don't have a lot of time left. I'm throwing it to you. You go ahead. Finish up.
We're going to move on, and we've got another short excerpt here. And this one is with Mr. Lee Smith telling about his wartime experience. And then we'll have another short one, and that'll be the end.
All right.
I was in Mobile, Alabama, with Leif and Liebanks, Hulbert Bush, and Edith Farrington when the war was declared on September 3rd, 1939, which was on a Sunday. A few days later, we went to the British Consul and told him that we wanted to join an English ship. He smiled and said, "Young man, you sure have a lot of guts." Anyway, a few days later, he called us and said, "It's a ship laying at the dock that need 4 men on deck, so come down as quick as possible to sign on." And I'll never forget the words that gentleman used. He said, "Good luck, boys. With your help, we shall win the war."
About this?
Well, I loved the country.
You felt it to be your duty, in other words.
And I needed a job.
You were, of course, the Merchant Navy and imprisoned in Germany in a concentration camp for quite a number of years. What could you relate some of your experiences? What led up to your capture, and how did you endure it?
Well, in the 2 years and better that I helped take cargoes to Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia, I saw many ships go down, and I also saw men in lifeboats. And I'll never forget, this voyage was from Australia, and it was in the South Atlantic, between Cape Town, South Africa, and Sierra Leone, North Africa. We saw this, it looked like a bird on the horizon, and shortly after that, the captain got a signal saying, "Stop and don't use your radio, or we'll blow you out of the water."
You heard that? Captain got the message, stop, don't use your radio, or we'll blow you out of the water. Now, just to continue that story just a little bit, they came up to the ship, told all of this crew to get in their lifeboats, and they torpedoed the ship and took the crew prisoner of war. And actually, Mr. Lee, I think in his conversation told us he spent about 3 or 4 weeks on a prisoner of war ship, and eventually went into France and then transferred into Germany, and he spent something like 3 or 4 years as a prisoner of war. But you know, he came back home after the war, and he went back out to sea for a long time.
There you go. Yeah.
And this was just typical of what many of the seafarers of that era had to contend with, because I would say 95% of the Western world's transport of troops and fighting material and whatever was by sea. So there was a lot of Caymanians out there, and they were actually conscripted under some kind of military command. So they were all, fighting this battle, trying to maintain freedom and persevere democracy.
Wow.
And there are many.
Okay, so we do have a caller with a comment. So let's go to the phones real quick. Good afternoon, caller. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, good afternoon, Catherine.
Hi there.
Good afternoon to you guys.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I was told a story concerning Caymanians that were on a ship during the war, and the captain made the crew know how very important it was not to be smoking cigarettes in certain areas on the ship because of the enemy spotting them, and they could be torpedoed. And there was an incident on one boat where the captain caught a guy smoking cigarettes in non-smoking area, and warned him not to let it happen again. And it did happen again. The captain told him that he was so angry with him, he felt like taking him out. And the captain told him, said, "You know what? I'm not going to shoot you. The next port we get into, you're coming off, but you're very stupid. Thank you very much."
Okay, thank you so much for that call this afternoon. Yeah, I mean, if there are rules, right? Yeah. And rules, sometimes if you're breaking them, you can harm everybody else.
Well, so that's one thing that the military teaches you, and also at sea, because you got to have cooperation from everybody. If you're out there in 15, 20-foot waves trying to battle it.
It's not you one.
No.
It's everybody that's out there.
Yeah.
And something you do could bring down everybody.
Definitely.
Yes.
Well, I think we got enough time for this next short narrative, and this one is about veterans' faith, and which is very important to this whole thing. So, DJ, if you got it queued up there, let's roll it.
In this period of remembering those who sacrificed and those who made the supreme sacrifice, gave their lives in defense and preservation of freedom and democracy. The Cayman Islands Veterans Association, in cooperation with Radio Cayman and Breeze Radio, presents this short narrative of the role their faith plays in the lives of the Cayman Islands freedom fighters.
You know, one thing I'd like to just ask you here. I think we all come from Christian homes, brought up in Christian homes. How important did our faith play in our existence within those kind of environments? Captain?
Well, they say there are no heathens in foxholes. It plays a big part, you know. On the other hand, you got to realize too that, for instance, there are other religions. If you're killed in the line of duty, let's say, you're going to go straight to heaven where you're going to have 72 virgins waiting for you or something, which would seem to me makes it a lot easier to die. If you're a Christian, you're not quite sure where you're going.
You don't believe that if you're a Christian. Well, I'm very proud of my faith, and when I think back that out of the 70 men that I've served with, there was 65 men that's gone on, and for their yesterday, they gave their yesterday so we may have our tomorrow.
Shane, you got anything to?
I'd say the truth. Yeah, I had my come to Jesus experience as a young soldier in Africa. First time I ever went to that part of the world. This was a short deployment just to do an evacuation of U.S. embassy personnel in the Ivory Coast. Really didn't think we were going to get back out of there. And I remember the platoon sergeant saying, "All right, guys, let's pray." And we prayed before we left the compound to get back to the airfield. And from then on, I was a believer.
It works.
Yes, sir.
Andrew?
In the Marines, it starts in recruit training. There's a very strong religious influence in recruit training. The Marine Corps motto that goes back to the beginning of the Corps is Semper Fidelis, always faithful to, number one, God, your Corps, and your country. And we instill that in each and every Marine. Like the captain said, there can't be no atheists down in a foxhole. Another big influence that they couple along with religion is Mama.
Yes.
Never forget, she's the one that got you this far.
That's right.
And you owe her a lot.
And we dare not forget dear old Dad.
I think the military certainly places a great emphasis on your spiritual well-being. You'll find, I'm assuming that most of the branches, or all the branches, and certainly in the Air Force, the units are accompanied by a chaplain, or at least one chaplain, a non-denominational chaplain, a chaplain nevertheless.
Well, you know, even in training, you know, that was one of the things that they, on Sundays, they said, you know, you have to go to chapel. Yep. It was a demand. I mean, you got up early and you went to chapel, and then you pounded the ground for the rest of the day.
Yeah, we was all marched into the Presbyterian Church, all 70 of us, when we were in boot camp.
Members of the Cayman Islands Veterans Association discussing there the role that faith plays in military situations. Combat and dangerous assignment. The preceding was brought to you by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Radio Cayman, and Breeze Radio in honor of the Cayman Islands veterans. The voices you heard were Loxley Banks, Andrew McLaughlin, Shane Bothwell, Captain Dale Banks, and the late Bob Soto. Well, I think that sort of just tells the story that we got time to tell today. But a reminder that all throughout this week, up through Monday, I think, or Tuesday, there are these short narratives that's going on Radio Cayman and Breeze at various times. I don't know the exact times, but you'll probably hear them. And on Saturday evening on Breeze Radio, 8 o'clock, Yesteryear Music Hall will also have a special presentation dealing with Remembrance Day and CI veterans. And hopefully on Sunday we will get a more concise and longer program put together dealing with all of these 150 years of Caymanians military involvement in defense of freedom and democracy.
I want to thank you so much. If someone has not told you how amazing you are, you're pretty amazing. And I really appreciate you putting this together and, just doing this just for the love of your country, for the love of what the veterans have done for us. I want to read this. Someone just sent this in. Clyde Ebanks joined a Norwegian shop in Grand Cayman. The ship in Grand Cayman. The ship went to Honduras, loaded, heading to USA south of Grand Cayman. The Germans torpedoed the ship. He was never found. His uncle, Edward Ebanks, joined the U.S. Army and was promoted to lieutenant major. He was killed in D-Day, France. A warship brought him back to Little Cayman in a lead coffin, and he was buried there. They were both from Little Cayman.
Well, you see, that
Thanks for that.
Yeah,
Colin.
and that's
Thank
something
you for sending
that we
through.
did not know. And
It's amazing.
Catherine, maybe, is there a voice on that or just text?
It's just a text.
Okay, maybe you can send that to us so we'll have a record, because we're trying to compile a record of all of these, these things, and it's amazing. I don't think that. I know that the Caymanian community does not, and maybe it's too much for us to really digest all of the contributions that was made to defend freedom and democracy.
To get us where we are right now.
And maintain it.
And can't forget that,
and I think we all take it so much for granted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, they might have used the theme "Never Forget" before, but they should, because we should never forget what allows us to live the life that we live right now.
Yeah, and it shouldn't only be in this period. Well, the period that the veterans kind of push it with is September through the middle of November. But this should be something, and we do try to do some of this stuff here at Radio Cayman, throughout the year. So
right. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Thank you for being my host, my co-host, my guests, my everything, my facilitator, all of that good stuff. Appreciate that, Mr. Loxley Banks, as well as all of our guests that called, that were on the phone, that you did the interviews with. Thank you for doing that, facilitating that for us, as well as the people that called in, Henry Bodden, as well as Shadden McLaughlin. And just the voices that we heard. Appreciate you being a part of it. And Mr. Rudy Kudrycki.
Finally, she got it.
From the CIA Veterans Association. He was a German Air Force fighter pilot. I want to keep saying that. That's awesome. And happy birthday when it comes.
I just have a little message for young Caymanians who try to pursue a career in aviation with a collaboration with the new Cayman Islands Flying Club. We do partly training on the Cayman Islands now in connections with an American flight school in Miami. So for more information, you can go on the website blueskyaviation.org. blueskyaviation.org.
blueskyaviation.org. Okay, and I hear a lot of young men that want to be pilots in Cayman.
That's the best. Go in there and you see information, what we are doing, what we can do. There are restrictions here because we are flying in the CAA, not CIA, CAA environment. That's the European, basically, environment, not the FAA. So you have to cooperate with the FAA.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, they can go on to blueskyaviation.org if they want to find out some more information. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It has been lovely. I have been in the company of two lovely gentlemen, and we are now at the end of the show. Thank you, too, for riding along with us and staying tuned, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow, and Talk Today will be back. Same time, same place. Take care.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore